Before Nigeria had a name, the gods already had one. And when the British came, they didn't just conquer a land, they declared war on the invisible. What if I told you that the real story of British colonization in Nigeria is not just about guns and borders? It's about something deeper. Something they were genuinely afraid of. The ancient belief systems of the Nigerian people were so powerful, so organized, so spiritually rooted, that the British didn't just want to rule the land. They needed to destroy what the people believed. Because as long as the people had their gods, their ancestors, their sacred laws, they could never truly be controlled. This is the story they left out of the history books. And we are just getting started. Long before the first British ship anchored off the coast of what is now Nigeria, this land was alive with the sacred, not in the distant, abstract way that religion sometimes feels today. No. The spiritual world was immediate here. It was in the soil beneath your feet. In the river that fed your children. In the face of the masquerade that walked out of the forest every harvest season. For the Yoruba people of the southwest, the universe was governed by the Orishas, divine beings, each with their own domain, their own personality, their own sacred covenant with humanity. Sango, the Orisha of thunder and lightning, was not a myth to be studied. He was a force to be respected. It is said that when lightning struck, it was Sango speaking, and the people listened. Then there was Osun, the Orisha of rivers, fertility, and feminine power. The river was not just water. It was her body, her breath. Thousands of women, according to oral tradition, would walk to the Osun River in Osogbo to pray, to weep, to leave offerings, believing she would hear them. And many swore she answered. Among the Igbo of the southeast, the spiritual framework was different, but equally profound. There was Chukwu, the supreme creator god, the great force behind all existence. But below Chukwu were the Alusi, spirit forces assigned to specific rivers, forests, crossroads, and communities. The most feared and revered was Amedioha, the god of thunder and justice, whose sacred color was white, and whose anger, it was believed, could strike a liar dead before witnesses. And then there was Oni, the earth goddess, mother of the land, keeper of the moral law. Crimes were not just social offenses here. They were violations against Ani herself. And the earth would not forget. Now let's talk about the Benin Kingdom, because what the British encountered here shook them more than they ever admitted. The Oba of Benin was not simply a king. He was considered divine, semi-sacred. A living link between the world of the living and the world of the ancestors. According to Benin belief and tradition, the Oba's palace was the spiritual center of the entire universe, or at least their universe. The rituals performed inside those palace walls were believed to maintain cosmic balance. The harvest, the rain, the health of the kingdom. If the Oba suffered, the land suffered. If the Oba was strong, the land was strong. The palace itself was filled with ancestral altars, bronze heads of former Obas, each one representing a gateway to the spirit world. And the Igan Eramwan, the royal bronze casters, were not just artists. They were spiritual craftsmen, believed to be guided by the ancestors themselves as they worked. That is why the Benin bronzes are not just art. They are prayers cast in metal. When British soldiers burned Benin City in 1897 and seized those bronzes, they didn't just steal treasure. According to Benin oral tradition, they desecrated a spiritual world that had been carefully maintained for centuries. The elders say the ancestors wept and cursed. Here is something that will completely change the way you see pre-colonial Nigeria. These kingdoms didn't just have kings. They had secret societies. And these societies were the real power behind the throne. Among the Yoruba, the Ogboni society was one of the most feared institutions in the land. They were not criminals. They were elders, priests, judges, guardians of Yoruba law and the sacred covenant with the earth. It is believed that even kings feared the Ogboni. Because the Ogboni answered to something higher than any human throne. They answered to Ile, the earth, the oldest force in the Yoruba cosmos. In Igbo land, there was the Ek Society, a masked ancestral institution that crossed ethnic lines, operating as a court, a trade regulator, and a spiritual authority all at once. The Ek mask, when it appeared, represented the voice of the ancestors. And when the Ek spoke, even the most powerful men obeyed. Now here is where it gets truly extraordinary. When British colonial courts tried to impose English law on communities in southern Nigeria, many communities simply continued to run their real affairs through these secret societies. Underground, in the forest, at night. The British had their courts in the daylight. But the ancestors still held court after dark. But there is one belief system the British feared above all others. One spiritual force they tried to completely eradicate. Because it was the only thing standing between their control and total surrender of the Nigerian people. And it allegedly fought back. Deep in the forest of what is now southeastern Nigeria, there was a voice. A voice that kings traveled hundreds of miles to consult. A voice that could acquit the innocent and condemn the guilty. A voice that was believed, absolutely believed, to be the direct voice of Chukwu himself. This was the long juju of Arochukwu, also known as Ibini Ukpabi. The Arochukwu Oracle was arguably the most powerful institution in all of southeastern Nigeria before colonization. These were not backward people stumbling towards civilization. These were people who had solved, in their own way, questions that still haunt the modern world. How do you maintain justice without corruption? How do you protect the earth without laws written on paper? How do you hold a community together across generations? The answer, for them, was simple. You make it sacred. You make it spiritual. You make the ancestors the witnesses. And then you make sure nobody, not even a king, can escape their gaze. The British did not destroy these beliefs. They drove them deeper. Into the bones of the people. Into the rituals that survive behind closed doors. Into the festivals that look like culture, but are, if you know how to see, still acts of spiritual resistance. So here is the question I want you to sit with. When you go to a Yoruba festival, when you see an Igbo masquerade in the village square, when an elder pours libation and calls the names of the ancestors, do you see tradition? Or do you see resistance? Because every time those rituals happen, every time the old names are spoken, something is being preserved that an empire once tried to permanently destroy. Your ancestors did not just fight with weapons. They fought with memory, with ceremony, with the stubborn, unbreakable insistence that the gods of this land are still real, are still watching, are still here. And maybe, just maybe, they have been waiting for a generation wise enough to remember who they are. Could that generation be yours? I want to hear from you right now. Which of these ancient belief systems moved you the most? The Orishas, the Arochukwu Oracle, the secret societies that kept the law alive underground. Tell me in the comments below. And if you know a story, something passed down in your family, something an elder told you, share it. This channel is a space for us to remember together. Like this video if it taught you something you didn't know, and share it, because this history belongs to all of us. In my next video, I'm going to reveal the ancient spiritual war that happened inside the Nigerian church. The African priest who allegedly blended Orisha worship with Christianity, creating something the missionaries never planned for. A hidden spiritual tradition that has survived to this very day. Some call it syncretism. The elders call it survival. That video goes deep into a world very few people are willing to talk about openly. Subscribe right now, and make sure your notifications are on. Because you do not want to miss what's coming. The ancestors have more to say.
It seems